Let us bow our heads reverently for prayer. Heavenly Father, we're thankful for your many blessings this afternoon. We know that you're here with us because we can still feel the sunshine radiating on our bodies. And we're thankful for your many blessings. We pray that as we commence this program this afternoon, that you will be divinely near with us. Help that whatever will be said and done will be done to your name's honor and glory. And we thank you for your many blessings. Thank you for the persons who have presented and prepared such an occasion, Lord. May you bless this program. Bless all the persons who are here. Bless the students. And Lord, help us to remember the importance of being black. Help us to remember that those persons who fought for us, our ancestors, they did so that we are still benefiting from being free. Lord, I thank you. Help each person here today and help us to remember how proud we should be of our color. And thank you for making us each wonderful person. In your name we pray. Amen.
Madam Moderator, our esteemed panelists, our members of the board, students, friends of Godfrey Stewart High School, good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to our esteemed Godfrey Stewart High School and to this very auspicious occasion as we continue to raise the consciousness of our students as we embrace the legacy of our ancestors at this very critical time. We thank you for taking the time out to be here, and we look forward to very enlightening discussions. We look forward to asking questions so that we can be more informed, but most of all, we look forward to learning more because at Godfrey Stewart High School, we are lifelong learners. Welcome everyone, and may as you participate by listening, by getting information, by applauding, and by being more informed, that you will have a great afternoon. Thank you all.
Moderator. Other members of the Board of Governors, members of the panel, Mr. Christos, the community leader, Nurse Francine Hilton from the Ministry of Health, Mr. Garfield Prendergast, student of history, Mr. Lang, should I say student of music, our teacher. She's also a teacher and a student of music. Student leaders, PTA president, Mr. Stolz, the president of the past student, teachers, other invited guests, students, good afternoon. The task is mine to bring you Godfrey Stewart greetings from the Board of Management. And as we celebrate this month, under the theme black health and wellness. It is my understanding that health is a state of being free from illness. But wellness is an act of practicing health, healthy habits. According to Alice Waters in her book, we are what we eat. It is no secret that as black people, we are not well because we tend to eat what we love, but not necessarily what is good for us. And just looking around, most of us are overweight, and it is also quite alarming how so many of us has this lifestyle disease, diabetes. I want to challenge us that we need to start getting conscious of our lifestyles. As we celebrate Heritage Week, let us reflect on the fact that we are Jamaicans. Out of many, we are one. We are unique people, especially those of us who are black. We are persons who, most of us, grew up used to bush medicine. And whenever we get ill, we look to fruits or vegetables or some kind of plant so we can have to get us well. And I want to challenge us today that we need to get to that point in our lives when we seriously look at our health and our wellness. Let us get into a fitness program and endeavor to live healthy lives. We need to understand this, that this body that we live in is the only one. And therefore, how we care for it will determine how well it works for us. And I just hope that as we celebrate Heritage Week, it will not just be one of those ritualistic things that we do every year. But let us start applying a lot of what we learn throughout this week to our daily lives. May God bless you. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. We want to thank our chairman, Mr. Neville Wilson, for those kind words. He has actually delved into a lot of what we're going to be speaking about today with our discussion. Thank you, Mr. Neville Wilson. Wellness. Our theme for this panel discussion is Black Health and Wellness. Today we acknowledge the legacy of not only black scholars and medical practitioners in Western medicine, but we also recognize those who simply know. Those who know range from birth workers and midwives to herbalists and naturopaths, and these stretch across and throughout the African diaspora. Join the discussion with us as I welcome you to our panel discussion on Black Health and Wellness. I am Celeste Leng, teacher of technical drawing, head of the Industrial Arts Department, music coach, business owner, architect, and history enthusiast. I have been awarded with the pleasure of leading the discussion today. Our panel consists of 3 competent and illustrious individuals who have made their mark in their respective fields. To my left, we have Mrs. Francine Hilton. She is a registered nurse. She works currently at the Froome Technical High School, and she practices midwifery. Could we welcome Mrs. Francine Hilton? To my right, we have Mr. Walde Christos. He is a very Afrocentric person. He has a passion for community development. He is a community leader, and he operates and is the CEO of Raj Tour Company. Let us welcome Mr. Christos. And last but not least, we have one of our own. He is a fifth form history student right here at our noble Godfrey Stewart High School, Mr. Garfield Prendergast. Let us welcome him. We will waste no time and we will go right into our panel discussion. Mr. Christos and Mr. Prendergast, I'm attacking the two of you first. My first question, I think it's a very simple one. Mr. Christoph, I'll ask that you go first. What does Black History Month mean to you?
Greetings again. It's a plum pleasing pleasure to be here with you today to discuss us. Ourselves, and to appreciate ourselves. I will say to you that it is called Black History Month, and for me, unfortunately, I don't really call it Black history. I tend to say African history, because I've traveled several parts of the world, and I've seen persons. I've been to India, and I've seen persons look like me who are Indian, very dark. I've gone to other places and seen persons who look like me, who are not Africans but are very dark. So if we're going to say Black history, then are we focusing on Africans, or are we focusing on just blacks in general? So for me, I'm here to focus on Africans today. And so this month is a month and the rest of the year that I use to celebrate Africans and African history.
Thank you very much, Mr. Christoph. Mr. Prendergast, what are your views on Black History Month, or as Mr. Christos aptly said, African History Month?
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So my views on Black History Month, I really believe that Black History Month is a month of celebration for the beautiful, beautiful history of Black people and the Black race in general. So when I think of Black History Month, I think of all the struggles that African Americans, that Africans, Afro-Caribbean people have gone through throughout the centuries of oppression. So when I hear Black History Month, I really and truly believe that this month is for celebration, to make up a little bit for what the whites have done to you guys, to the Black culture, to Black people in general.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prendergast. Thank you very much. If I can share my thoughts on this, 1 month really and truly is not enough. It is 1 month out of a whole year when really and truly we should be celebrating year long. Mr. Prendergast spoke about the hardships that we faced as African descendants. Yes, it is, and it has been a struggle, but over time, we will overcome. I'm going to turn my next question over to Mrs. Hilton. Do you believe that as a Black race, as African descendants, that we are living a healthy life?
Do I believe that we are living a healthy life?
Do you?
No. If I might add my little piece, I'm so sorry, but one of the things about Black History Month is that initially we did not know a lot about the accomplishment of many of our Black ancestors. It was swept under the carpet.
It was.
So here comes a month that is said, let us showcase all that these persons have done in the past, because they say if we don't know our past, we can't know our future very well, right?
Yes.
Now,
please.
you were asked if we are living healthy. Now, it's a question that I will have to say, honestly, we are not living as healthy as we should. There are so many lifestyle diseases that we as a race, we are more prone to, or there's a higher percentage of us who have these diseases because of our lifestyle, what we eat, whether or not we exercise. I must admit that recently I have seen a lot of persons going out and exercising. Kudos to all of you who are doing that, but we need to see more. There are so many preventable diseases in the black race that is of a high percentage that really we can do better.
Okay, all right, and this goes right into my next question, and this is open to any one of our panelists. Would you say that the illnesses that plague persons of the African diaspora are directly related to our diet and our way of life? All right, I have Mr. Christos here.
Well, let me say to you that the lifestyle that our eating habits was handed down to us.
Yes.
Remember, in Africa, we had a way we eat, and when we were brought here forcefully, when we were brought here, we were given whatever that they felt like they want to give us. Now, sugar, the island was producing sugar, and many of the things that we got flour, salted fish, because even though the island had a lot of fish, they couldn't allow the Africans to go to sea in order to catch their own fish, because they wouldn't come back. So they imported codfish, or what we call saltfish, from Newfoundland off the coast of Canada here, and they used that. And then we had all the other salted things, mackerel, we had salt pork, beef, everything salted. And that's what became our main diet. Then they also imported cheap things like flour. And so we end up eating a lot of white flour. We also eating a lot of white rice. And it becomes now, and if you noticed, we said this is, no matter where we are in the world, we start to produce this food, prepare this food and offering it to ourselves. But if you look at it, because it is high in salt and it is high in sugar, it is also high in carbohydrate, then many times we are ending up with far too much salt in our bodies, and we know what is happening. We're ending up with far too much sugar in our bodies. If you look at all the drinks that are available, filled with sugar. We look at the japs, the greater cake, the pudding, and you go on. Because we had to use the flour, we had to use the meal, we had to use the sugar in order to create meals for ourselves. And today, what we proudly say that is Jamaican is actually designed to destroy us. So we're going to have to change our diet if we want to be more healthy, because it's a slave inherited diet we have.
Mr. Christos spoke a lot about the sugar production and the flour production. He spoke briefly about the innards that we were given. In Patois, we would say the what left. We know that the persons or the plantation owners, the background masters, as we may call it, they would utilize the prime cuts of the beef, the prime cuts of the pork, and the other animals. We would be left with the kidney, the gizzards, the light, the pig's tail, the ox tail, all of that, the tripe, manish water. What do we use to make manish water? Goat head and the innards of the goat. Now, I know that we have Mrs. Hilton, I know that, there is some nutritional value that comes from these innards that we have really and truly embraced as a culture. But how do those innards, Mr. Krista spoke about the salt and the sugar, but how do those innards affect us and the lifestyle illnesses that Mr. Wilson and you also spoke about, such as the diabetes, the high cholesterol, how does the high blood pressure, how does that affect our bodies, please?
Okay, Mr. Christos, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I must say, as it is said, we are digging our graves with our teeth. Many times it's what we consume that has ultimately led to our demise. Many of our relatives have died and are suffering from illnesses that are preventable. It is just because of their diet why many of us, why we have some of the diseases that we do have. Now, medicine, we will tell you if you come to the clinic or that, like the kidneys and those things, that you can get extra iron. Now, honestly, if there are other sources for you to get these things from, we encourage you to do that also. Your green leafy vegetables and all of that, right? Because sometimes these overworked organs, these intestinal areas are not necessarily the best for your health, right? I think many of us, I find that quite a few of the young people don't like vegetables. For some reason, we have not gotten into the culture of ensuring that our children are eating enough vegetables, which is very important. So I think we need to supplement the diet. So many times, cut down on the meats, on the red meats especially, and supplement it with vegetables, especially our green leafy vegetables, especially for our females, right? So yes, we are indeed digging our graves with our teeth.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Hilton. Mr. Prendergast, we want to hear the views of a relatively young person. What do you think can be done to the leafy greens, the dark leafy greens, and other sources of iron and vegetables to make them more attractive and more appealing to persons in your age group? What do you think can be done?
For the green leafy vegetables and vegetables in general, I don't know about anybody else, but I love to use salad dressing. When I'm eating my vegetables, I always have salad dressing on them. So probably some healthy salad dressings with, a bit of sweetness. Not too much, but enough for you to eat your vegetables with that. So, as well as the iron. The iron, that the iron is especially needed in the females for your monthly period, because you'll lose the blood, so you're going to need the iron to build it back up, right? So you need to eat the iron and any food that contains iron when it's healthy.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Prendergast. We will move on. Do you believe, and I'm throwing this question out to any one of our panelists, do you believe that there are equal medical opportunities for persons of African descent as there are for persons from any other race? Do we believe that there are equal medical opportunities?
When you say medical opportunities, you mean access to health care?
Access to health care, being able to practice in the field.
Okay, the question is wide.
Yes, please.
Okay, I must say that we have had improvement in persons who are practicing in the field. I mean, if we go now to our health centers and our hospitals, we see a lot of ourselves being represented.
Yes.
Right? I mean, back in the days, we know the hue of the persons that we would see working in these institutions. And so we've been having changes, which is good. It can still be better. A big part of the problem is that I can say, like with medical doctors, going to medical school is extremely expensive.
It is.
And so it sometimes puts it out of the reach of somebody who may have the academic qualification but is not financially capable are able to get this kind of education. But I must say there is a lot of improvement when it comes to access to health care. Again, is a component, the financial aspect of it, yes, where many times we'll see that the public health system is there are so many persons waiting to be served by the system, that honestly, if many persons could afford it, they would have gone into the private sector, right? We have sometimes persons waiting on a list to do a surgery for a year and more, right? And sometimes it may even reach the stage of becoming an emergency, because a person can have, let me give an example, a person can have what is known as a hernia,
yes,
right? And it can be just simple pain to begin with. They're put on a list, and they can reach a stage where it can become incarcerated. The part that is protruding can become, let me try to find, it's like imprisoned in a little area there, and it can become a medical emergency, where honestly, if you had the capital or the funds to do so, you'd have gone into the private sector, you'd have gotten your surgery, and it wouldn't have reached this stage. So there's still room for improvement. I think the system is overwhelmed, but persons are trying their best, and I'm hoping that we will see improvement in the future.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Hilton. Do any of our other panelists wish to comment?
The question again is, just want to be sure.
The question: do we believe that there are equal medical opportunities for persons of African descent?
And I did, and you had gone further with the question
Whether
in terms of conventional or traditional.
Well, we didn't go the traditional as yet. We haven't reached there as yet.
Okay. Again, it takes cash to care. And when we say healthcare available to all, we have to look at the different degrees of it. And a person who has health insurance, or a person who has access to capital, will get the service faster.
Yes.
Will get the service if it's not available immediately locally. They can actually go outside of the country for it. So to have cash, you get better care. All right. Sometimes also you'd end up into the public sector, trying to get well, and there are things which are not available. So before you can do your surgery, you might have to go and buy the things that they need to work on you. And if you can't afford to buy it, then you're now end up on a waiting list. There is also situations which I've seen where persons go to the doctor and they're given a prescription, and they go to the pharmacy and they have to now prioritize. And sometimes the doctor themselves or the patient may not have asked, which, if I can't afford all, which to buy.
Yes.
So sometimes they are the ones who are in the pharmacy making a decision on which to buy, which it might be it might not be the right ones,
yes,
which they need in order to at least start the process of getting well. So again, because of, I think there's also a lot of miseducation around health. So because persons are quite ignorant of how to save to make sure that they can afford health services, then they end up where they can't afford it.
All right.
And then our government can't afford it.
They cannot. So do we think that as a result of lack of finances, a lack of liquid cash flow, a lack of that capital that we speak of, Mr. Christos, that persons have begun turning back to the ways of old, the herbalist treatments and more traditional treatments that we used to utilize back in the day. Do you believe that a resurrection of this is happening now as a result of the lack of financial flow?
I don't know if it is financial or maybe a consciousness which is coming into the people, because it was suppressed. It was deliberately suppressed by the pharmaceutical companies, because they felt like if you had access to traditional medicine, you wouldn't buy theirs. So it was they were constantly speaking against it. And if you notice, I mean, during my years of growing up, I was fortunate to born in the 70s. And because of that, I catch the tail end of traditional medicine. When we got to the 80s, all you could hear is that these traditional medicine persons, they don't know how to proportion the medicine. They don't know how to this. They don't know how can something which is centuries old, all of a sudden wasn't good enough. And so it was spoken against and constantly put down. When a child was feeling ill and persons would boil their herbal medicine and give it to the child, most time it was spoken against. When you go to the health centers and other places, you should take the child to the doctor, you should this, you should that. And there were not much honor for the traditional medicine. So hence it, but as persons now, the consciousness is coming, especially during the COVID period, persons are returning home to that original medicine, which is better.
All right.
Okay, a part of what happened also is that, yes, Mr. Christos, there was a problem with proportioning the whatever to give to the child as against an adult. And so what we have is sometimes the morbidity and the mortality rate was increasing. No, many times what I think that we should have been doing more of is more experimenting, right? We should have been investing more. We have our doctors. I'm sure most, if not all of us, would know about Dr. Manley West, Professor West, who would have developed canasol for the eye. They used ganja, an extract from it, and they made a drug. They made a drug which is used in the eye to prevent glaucoma. And what they actually found is that when the fishermen that would use ganja, when they went out to sea, they came back, they found that they had this clear vision, and they recognized that something was in the ganja itself. No, I'm not saying anybody's supposed to use ganja. I'm just saying this is what happened. And so they were able to take the drug and they were able to do their experiment and come up with a recognized drug with a proportion that could be put in the eye. Because when they measured because you, just like you would do your blood pressure, you do the pressure in the eye.
Yes.
The intraocular pressure. When they did the intraocular pressure, they found that those who used the ganja had a lower intraocular pressure. So they could take out the substance that is needed, because there are so many substances in the ganja that when you use it, you would have been using all of them when you don't necessarily need everything, right? So I think what we need to do is to invest more into
experimentation.
Yes, researching these things. I mean, we know about guinea hen weed. One of our own Jamaican is doing a lot of studies on it and have found that there's an agent in it that helps with cancers, with some form of cancers. So there is place out there, but I think, as I said before, we need to be investing in research.
Research and experimentation, that is so true. When Mrs. Hilton speaks about cannabis, There's an extract from the cannabis, the CBD, that is actually very useful for cancer patients, for skin care, for hair care, and it is what we have here and we are running from. In the United States, in Canada, and so many other areas, you have medical dispensaries where persons are able to go and purchase particular strains, and they are able to purchase the oils, the cannabis oil, so that they would be able to utilize it for teas, for steaming, and they are able to utilize this. But yet still I find that we in Jamaica, we are not embracing it. Yet still we as a country are known for the growth of this. So I do believe that our government really needs to invest in experimentation and research in not only cannabis, but in a lot of our other herbs. Since the COVID-19 pandemic has been sprung upon us, we have the turmeric and the ginger shots that have been utilized a lot with cayenne pepper. A lot of persons have been, drinking the turmeric and the ginger just to keep or to boost their immune system. So there's a lot that we can look into. Let us stop for a minute. We're going to stop for a notable minute, and we're going to look at one of the pioneers in our medical industry, Mrs. Mary C. Cole. She was born Miss Mary Jane Grant on the 23rd of November, 1805, and she lived until the 14th of May, 1881. She was a British Jamaican nurse, and she was also a businesswoman who set up the British Hotel behind the lines during the Crimean War. She described the hotel, as a mess table and comfortable quarters for sick and convalescent officers, and provided for wounded servicemen on the battlefield, nursing many of them back to health. Coming from a tradition of Jamaican and West African doctresses, C. Cole displayed compassion, skills, and bravery while nursing soldiers during the Crimean War. Through the use of herbal remedies, she was posthumously awarded the Jamaican Order of Merit in 1991. In 2004, she was voted the greatest Black Briton. Mrs. Mary C. Cole relied on her skill and experience as a healer and a doctress from Jamaica. That is what carried her through. Schools of nursing in England were only set up after the Crimean War, the first being the Florence Nightingale Training School in 1860 at St. Thomas Hospital in London. C. Cole was arguably the first nurse practitioner. She was one of our own. She went and she assisted with the war, and this war was between Russia and France. And she utilized herbal remedies, what was passed down from Africa, in order to aid these soldiers during the Crimean War. Let us not forget where we are coming from as we move forward. I'm going to turn this next question now to Mr. Prendergast. Do you believe that the accomplishments of the Black race receives the recognition it deserves?
So, no, I don't believe that we are getting enough recognition for our research. Is that?
Just recognition overall for our accomplishments.
For our accomplishments in health. No, we are not. Because most research, because the other day I was watching the news and I saw that they had a new way of delivering organs via drones. It was a white man. So no, we are not. Basically, we are just here with the herbal medicines. Like few countries still use the herbal medicines that Mary C. Cole did use in the Crimean War in the 16th. So no, we're not getting enough recognition.
All right, Mr. Christus, do we have anything to share in regards to this question?
Yes. Up to when we became in charge of ourselves, whatsoever we did, they had reasons to suppress it because they wanted us to think that we are nothing, we're savages, we're ignorant, and the list goes on. When we became in charge of ourselves, I think we depend upon too much the other race to speak about us. It is time that we start to speak about ourselves.
Thank you.
We have black media, but yet we see more things from Europe on our black stations. So when you look at, starting out with those who remember JBC, when you look at what was on it, there wasn't a lot of content that is looking at the history of Africa. Nobody say to us that the first university was built in Africa. A matter of fact, when we said Timbuktu at one point, it meant that it was negative.
Yes,
when we said Taku, when we said words like those, it meant negative. But pity would we know that Taku was a prince.
Yes.
Taku was a king. The things, you know, we say a word which we say chaka chaka. And actually in Nigeria, God is considered Chaku. So there are certain things that we're doing to ourselves where now we need to take the time out, and it is available. This is one of the most powerful tools that we have ever received.
It is.
But all we tend to do is to search for things to entertain, not to educate. We must balance it. I believe in entertainment, but too much of it can make you ignorant. We now need to move to education, and it's all here. We can Google it, we can spread it, and when we find it, is to spread it and to also talk about it, constantly talking about it. Some persons are going to find you extremely boring in the beginning, but with time, they will see the relevance of sharing this information. So now that we are in charge of our destiny, let us start to steer it in the direction. And I will not get up and depend upon CNN.
No.
Any one of the white stations that are run by descendants of Europe, because it would be stupid for them to big me up. It would be stupid for them to tell the people that I taught them education, I taught them medicine, my people taught them all that they know. It would be stupid for them to tell us that there were thieves that really stole what we had. It would be stupid of them to tell us that in England and those places, all our goals are sitting under the Queen's Palace. It would be stupid. So I don't expect the white media to tell us what about ourselves.
Thank you very much.
Might I add, Mr. Christos, I was totally enjoying everything that you were saying, because I think, as Marcus Garvey said, we're still in mental slavery, and we need to emancipate ourselves from this mental slavery. And one of the means of doing so is knowing about our history. Because blacks have done so much, even right now in Jamaica. Jamaicans are doing so much, and we know little or nothing about it. How many of us know that recently a young engineer from Jamaica made a prosthetic knee that is so affordable? How many persons know that? How many persons here know his name? Something that we don't know these things, we don't know about ourselves. But you can ask anybody about Rihanna and all those others. And as you said, we are so much into entertainment. So we need to invest in ourselves and have more pride in ourselves, and let our children also have more pride in themselves by studying and knowing our history.
Thank you very much, and I do agree. We need to celebrate what is our own. We need to celebrate where we come from. And speaking about first, I do want to take a next notable minute and speak about Ben Carson, who made tremendous moves in the medical field. He grew up in a single-parent home in Detroit, and he graduated high school with a scholarship to Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut. At age 33, Dr. Carson was appointed Director of Pediatric Neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins Children's Center in Baltimore. In 1987, he received global acclaim when he separated the binder conjoined twins in Germany. It was the first successful operation of its kind. In 1997, he again successfully separated twins who were joined at the head. We really and truly have to start celebrating some of these accomplishments that have been made not only on our homeland, but in other areas that have persons of African descent. It is really and truly important for us to preserve our culture as a people. My next question: what are your views on herbalists becoming licensed practitioners? What are your views on herbalists becoming licensed practitioners? I'm interested to hear this one.
Well, let me say to you that I grew up with a mother, an adopted mother, and she was the community's midwife. Or in my area of Bluefields, the entire community of Bluefields, to include Cave, Alder, those places, she delivered most of the children in that area. Her name was Rebecca Campbell, and she was also an herbalist. But one of the things that she did is that she went to deliver someone, and a child came, and she said, one more is up there. And but the next one wasn't coming. And so she told them to take the mother to the Savlamar Hospital, which they did. And she went with them. And when she went down there, the doctor that was on duty, she said, one more is up there. And the doctor said, how long ago the first one came? And she told the doctor, and the doctor said, well, it's impossible for one more to be up there. Lo and behold, one more came. They gave her a nursing license for her knowledge, and she practiced right up to death. Now, I say to you that I would think that would answer the question to say that yes, I do believe that persons, because they do, what we need to do is to have a system, as Nurse said, where we can test these persons. Yes. We can test their knowledge. Just like how they're now saying that all teachers will have to have license, they must have a system how they test you to give you that license. Every nurse, I have a daughter that she went to nursing school and she had to pass her exam to get her license. And I think she failed twice and went back and passed it on the third try. So there are ways in which to test our traditional people to give them license. But I do believe that they should get license.
Okay, thank you. Any other panelists would like to chime in?
I would say that, yes, if they have the research to back it, they should be licensed practitioners. The herbalists, if they do have the research to back their information, and even a little short course, a 1-2 month course to say that, okay, you are specialized in this area, because when you are going to be a dermatologist, you have to go through the general phases of being a doctor.
Yes.
That is some 8 years. Then you'd have to do 2 years of specialization, and then you have to do residency. So just give them a 2-month basic information on whatever they're going to be certified into. I would say that yes, they should be licensed.
Okay, I know that NCTVET, along with HART, currently does certification for persons who have skills So whether it's with woodwork, whether it's with electrical, whether it's working with vehicles. So I do think this same procedure can probably be placed into the medical field. So once the person is competent, once they pass all the areas, I do believe that they should be certified. Thank you, panelists, for your answers. Ezekiel chapter 47, verse 12. It says, "Fruit trees of all kinds will grow on both banks of the river. Their leaves will not wither, nor will their fruit fail. Every month they will bear fruit, because the water from the sanctuary flows to them. Their fruit will serve for food, and their leaves for healing." Seeing that God created the earth with all the healing for the body, according to the passage, should we stop visiting our doctors? Should we only go to our herbalists? What are your views on this? Mrs. Hilton, what are your views on this?
Of course, I would not support not going to your doctor. There's a knowledge base that one needs to have. I mean, one would not want somebody who just got up and said that I'm a surgeon to do any surgery on them. So there is a course of study that one has to go through before being eligible to do any surgery or to attend to patients in particular areas or particular illnesses that they'll have. I do agree that there is a place for herbal medicine, but there is also a place definitely for traditional medicine. We need to understand that doctors would have gone to school for how many years you said? 7? 7 years, and then to specialize, they'd go back for 1, 2, 3 years, depending on what their area of specialty is. So they are studying diseases that, honestly, there's some persons now who are ill, who the herbalist can't tell them what is wrong with them. Sometimes not even traditional medicine. And so we have developed equipment and all of those CT scan, MRIs, all of those to help us to do. So whatever help we can get from whatever area, I'm saying use it. But I'm saying I cannot say just go to your herbalist and there is no place for traditional medicine. I could never support that ever.
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Hilton. In the still overhanging shadows of the COVID-19 pandemic, what are the elements from our history that should become more integral in our everyday life and the handling of COVID-19?
I mean, handling COVID-19, we know the 3 basic protocols, right? Wash your hands. And all of us grew up knowing that, right? Didn't we know our mothers, grandmothers, fathers, grandfathers would have said to you, wash your hands before you eat, right? There are just certain things that we weren't doing them as often as we should have, but it's coming to the fore now how important these things are, because many times we would have done things sometimes without knowing why we are doing what we are doing, right? We would not sometimes know the cause. Why is it that I'm doing this? But we have to understand now that you're washing your hands because you are getting rid of viruses and bacteria, germs that we can't see. I know for the schools now, before coming into school, you're supposed to wash your hands. There are wash hand basins. So just a basic thing like that for getting rid of illnesses. Back in the days, before the development of medicine, when doctors didn't know about viruses and bacteria, they used to just step into surgery, my brother, and not know that they should wash their hands, right? And so first bacteria was discovered. It was years after that viruses, which are much smaller than bacteria were discovered. So and they said, okay, let us wash our hands, let us take certain precautions. We know that we should cover our mouths when we sneeze. We knew that before, right? Right, just that we have upgraded it now and we said, listen, you need a mask to ensure that the droplets that are coming towards somebody or coming from you or coming from someone is not coming directly to your airway. So, I mean, there are things that we would have had the knowledge before, just that with COVID-19, we really have to step it up several notches to make it, to prevent the spread. I'm not sure if that's the question you're asking.
Okay. For me, thank you so much, nurse. I like how nurse stays in her lane, so to speak. But let me say to you, one of the things that COVID-19 has really brought out is the importance of being healthy. Now, it means that we're going to have to then start to push greater in order for persons to change their eating habits. All right? So we can get more healthy, because we realize that persons with certain chronic diseases were the ones who were more prone to be taken out by the COVID. Yeah. All right? So preventing those would then make us in a much better position to fight the COVID if we do catch it. Yes. All right? Now, yes, we're preventing catching it, but we know how easy it is because it is via the air that it is transported. So we know that it's quite easy. So I would say to persons, the first thing that I would recommend, get off sugar. I started it over 30 years ago, where I just got off sugar, and now I don't need sugar for anything that I drink. A matter of fact, if I drink sugar, I get a rush. Whoa. And it actually makes me dizzy. So just start by getting off sugar and reduce your salt. I wouldn't say get off salt, but reduce it. For instance, when I go to some person's house and they cook a meal and give it to me, your salt threshold is quite high. You give me the same food and it's extremely salty.
Yes.
So lower your salt intake, don't eat so much. If you notice, when we're eating, we have a pile of carbohydrate and a dash of greens. Kind of switch it around. See if you can eat more greens, and eat more fruits. Person said fruits are expensive. I said to them, a banana is most time $20 and sometimes $50. But we will go and buy a box juice for $150, which is pure sugar.
Yes.
We refuse to have water. Just drink water. And I think by getting ourselves more healthy, then we're going to be in a much better position to fight the COVID-19.
I do agree with you, Mr. Christos. And I think for some reason we're not pushing that aspect. And it is true, if we are healthy, our immune systems can be boosted by just having more vitamin C. And vitamin C will come from our citrus fruits like oranges. So it is important, the healthier we are, the more we will stave off this horrible, terrible disease.
Yes, please, and thanks. I do agree. We're going to have one last notable minute, and then we will direct two last questions to our panel. Our last notable minute will take into consideration Michelle Obama. As the first Black First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama devoted much of her energy to promoting physical health. She brought attention to the childhood obesity epidemic with her Let's Move initiative, which encouraged young people to exercise and eat nutritious food. When Obama launched the program in 2010, she said, "The physical and emotional health of an entire generation and the economic health and security of our nation is at stake." Obama also worked to increase access to healthier food and improve food labeling. She championed the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act, which promotes healthier school lunches and funds meals for poor children. Along with the First Lady Jill Biden, Obama launched the Joining Forces program to support veterans and their families with access to health service. She is also a strong advocate for women's health issues. During her reign as First Lady, Michelle Obama launched her Let's Move campaign. Our own government has its Jamaica Moves campaign, where it tries to get citizens to move for at least 30 minutes a day. How are campaigns like these relevant even now with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic? I am directing this to our own Mr. Prendergast.
So the Let's Move program, I would say that it is to get us active, to keep our body moving. So to keep our body moving. So basically this program is to get at least 30 minutes of exercise in our daily activities. That is excluding your walking. Because most people don't walk. Don't like to walk. Some people don't run. They don't. So this is really, for COVID, I would say this really affects to have a better airway, because when you breathe, you know that the more air you take in is the stronger your lungs is, right?
Yes.
So this campaign is really to build up your lungs so you can be able to breathe properly and you won't get tired easily.
Thank you very much. If I'm correct, when we exercise as well, Mrs. Hilton, we also oxygenate the body, yes? And when we oxygenate the body, we're able to move freer and we're able to be more fit. Is that it? Could you expound for me, please?
Oh yes, we do oxygenate the body and we become healthier. If we are consistent, we can lose weight. There are so many healthy things that can happen when we do exercise. And of course, as we were saying before, Mr. Christos, the healthier you are, the more capable you are of staving off this COVID-19, because you'll realize that not everybody will contract it, and some persons will contract it and don't even know,
yes,
right? And some persons, it just barely passed by them and they get so ill, right? So those persons who have what we spoke about before, comorbid features,
yes,
those who are obese, we have found that obese persons, especially those who have diabetes, hypertension, any comorbid feature, are more likely to become very ill, to become hospitalized, and unfortunately, more likely to die. But when we exercise, we become healthier. Actually, it affects every realm of our lives, right? So it's a very important thing for us to be moving. We need to be more disciplined and ensure that we move.
Okay. If we look at this machine that we got called the body, it wasn't designed to sit down.
It was not.
It wasn't. So I think one of the things that we have been saying is that we would like, our parents went through such hard life. They had to walk miles to get water. They had to use the hoe and the picker, and by the time we finish, we make exercise sound like it's a sin.
Yes.
Now I am glad to walk the mile. I am glad to walk. A matter of fact, I set my phone to do 6,000 steps per day. And when I don't achieve it, I'm upset with myself. So I want to walk. I will say to you that we should walk, we should do more, we should be burning, because our body, whatsoever it doesn't burn, it stores. And what it stores can make us sick.
All right, what can we do to elevate these campaigns nationwide? At the parish level, at the community level, and also at the school level. what can we do to really elevate these campaigns? Personally, I do not think that they're effective or as effective as they can be. So what can we do to elevate these campaigns?
Walk around the field hour. Just having programs that involve, I know you are a dance teacher, you're a music teacher and would have some dance to it. Get them dancing. A matter of fact, it is said that if you allow the Jamaican children if you just turn some music on, they get enough exercise. It's just that we have to figure out a way to get the clean version of those songs in that is going to make them dance. But the minute they hear music, it's let's go. It's that even in church, people hear music and they're dancing. And Africans, we used to dancing. If you listen to the traditional African music, which would be the revival music and stuff, the minute you hear it, your toe starts tapping. And next minute, other parts of your body start to rock. Because it is designed to make you move. So, more movements.
I think one of the major things is that we have to get individuals to buy more into the idea. Because yes, we believe and we hear, and there are many of us like myself, I'll start an exercise thing and I'll feel good and somehow I'll fall off the ship and I'll go back on the ship a year after and somehow, I think it's to get each other to know and to understand and to support each other. Yes. So if I don't feel like going out this morning, I can call you or you can call me. So we need to be supportive of each other. We need to have some key persons who we target these key persons and say, let us exercise, right? And sometimes one person can touch many. If I am gaining from it, if I've lost 10 pounds or I feel healthier or my depression has gone, I need to share it.
Yes.
Not just keep it to myself, but let other persons know so they can benefit from knowing and come on the ship with me. So we need to be more supportive of each other. We need to have more key persons out there who will ensure that they don't just have the knowledge, but they are utilizing the knowledge and bringing people on board. So it is possible. It's just that honestly it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of hard work, but it is possible. Okay.
So within schools, most schools have a PE, a physical education program.
Yes.
So when I was at sub-primary, it's on a Friday, I would have a 1 hour and 30 minutes class with our physical education teacher. And we'd be walking, we'd be running, because the first thing we're going to do 10 laps around the field. That's the backfield, not the big one outside.
Okay,
but the back one at the school. So we'd have the 10 laps around, and we play football, and we play netball. So that is a way to get it within the schools. Continue the physical education program. Locally, I would say that we need to endorse home gyms.
Yes.
Yes, home gyms, because there's a treadmill at my house, And I always say, tomorrow morning I'm going to go on that.
Tomorrow.
So I would usually say Sunday morning I'm going to go. Sunday come. Next week Sunday. Can't start Monday. So we need to do that. Have a little dumbbell. Work your hands. Once at least when you sit down, you just work your hands. What do you call it? The
stress ball.
Stress ball. Move your fingers. Carpal tunnel syndrome is not a good feeling. And I can't tell you I have never had it. But if you stay around a computer too long, that will happen to you. Nationally, I believe that the government can promote it way more.
Yes.
Way more. Get people into it. The same way how they're trying to get you getting the COVID-19 vaccine, they should get you into the fitness program.
Before COVID-19, Dr. Christopher Tufton would do a lot of videos with himself, running and that kind of thing. But I think with the pandemic, he kind of died down where that campaign was concerned. So I really do think he needs to amp it up, and he probably needs to utilize some of the entertainers that are in the dancehall industry who are the influencers, and they seem to be the movers and shakers, and the young persons listen to these persons. So if they are pushing a healthy lifestyle, if they are pushing, let us move, let us do this, then I do think that we'll have a lot of persons coming on board. Thank you very much, panelists, for sharing in that question. This is the end of part 1 of our discussion. Part 2 will be very short. But at this time, we're going to be having an item from one of our teachers. Let us welcome her as she comes. We want to thank Mrs. Russell Walker for sharing with us that very enthusiastic piece. She definitely did exercise, as you said, Mrs. Hilton. I think she got in some of her 30 minutes for today. At this time, as we close, I'm going to ask our panelists to give their closing or their conclusions right before we go. I'm going to start with Mr. Prendergast, and we will move right down the line.
Okay, so to eat is a necessary, but to eat intelligently is an art. So please, take the time out. 30 minutes is all it takes to walk. I know that most of you walk, because I walk. You always see me up and down the school. So I get my share of exercise from walking. So walk, eat right, and you will be all good.
Thank you, Mr. Prendergast.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. I must say congratulations to the Humanities Department. This initiative was a very good one. I am hoping that we all will leave understanding our history a little more, appreciating our history more than we did when we came through the gates. I wish for you all the very best. And as a health professional, I must encourage you to continue to wear your mask, remember your social distancing, and of course, remember to wash your hands as regularly as possible. And of course, if you can't wash, sanitize. I wish for you all your very best, and to understand that if we do not understand our past, it's going to be difficult for us to understand our present and our future. All the very best to each and every one of you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sultan. And Mr. Christos?
Well, first, I would like to really say to the Board of Management, to the principal, and to the team, Humanities, that's
yes,
the department,
Humanities Department,
and to you for this excellent, to discuss Black history is something that we don't do a lot of. And to see it here and to see many of the young people who are here, I want to say that we need to change a lot of what is being said.
yes.
I hear if it is white, it's all right. Persons have heard that. If it is brown,
Yeah.
stick around. But if it is black, stand back. No, it's not so. It was never so. If it is black, it is on top.
Yes. Yes.
All right?
Okay.
Now, and it's not every time that it is white, it is all right. And we know that. All right? So I just want to say to you that if you see a person of Asian descent, China, out on the street, but that person was born here, what do you call that person? No, you kind of nice it up. We say a Chinese man. If we see persons who is of Indian descent, who is from East India, we said they're Indian, or we call them Coolie. But mainly we said Indian. We are the only ones, the Africans, who are hiding who we are. Yes. If you say to a person, you are an African, immediately, oh, me? Don't Africa appear fly there and people them out. And me not come from Africa. A lie I tell I be a MAGA people down there. Let me say to you, it's a lie.
It is.
Please, and be proud to say that you're African. We are African. We are not black as we just put it. We are Africans.
African.
And in Africa, we have different shades. A matter of fact, all ethnic groups, there is no such thing as many human race. It is one human race, but different ethnic groups.
Yes.
And for each ethnic group that is out there, all of them came out of Africa, are Africans.
The motherland.
Be proud of who we are. We gave the world formal education. We gave the world mathematics, physics. Whatever you want to think of, we gave it to the world. Please, all of the philosophers of Europe, they were in Africa. They learned from us. Be proud. Stand tall and be proud to be an African. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christos. The discussion that we have had today is really and truly just the tip of the iceberg. A lot has been taken from us as persons of African descent. Many of the musicians that you were taught were white. It has come out over the years that they are of African descent. a lot of the inventions that have been made over the years, they were made by persons of African descent. Let us embrace our Africanness. Let us find our roots. Africa is called the motherland for a reason. That is where everything emerged. If we go back to our Bibles, we will realize that everything came from Africa, the motherland. Many issues have been raised today. Many issues. When we're zoning in with health and wellness, these issues range from financial issues going all the way to Black awareness. Let me implore you, research. Research, research, research. Share your findings. Your grandparents, sit down and talk with them. There's so much that they know. There's a wealth of knowledge that is there. Whenever you find out what it is you find out from them, share that knowledge and celebrate your findings. Wait on no one else to celebrate you. You celebrate you. You celebrate your culture. You celebrate your heritage. Let us not just wait for Black History Month, but let it be something that we do on a daily basis. Let us not discard modern medicine, but let us embrace it, but also our traditional medicine through the use of herbs such as the turmeric, the fever grass, the ginger, the guinea hen. You know them. Let us use them to boost our immunity. Let us use them to make us strong. Let us move. Walk to the store rather than drive. Get your steps in. Find accountability partners, as Mrs. Hilton said. The onus is on us to take care of our own health and our own wellness. It literally starts with us. Today, we would like to thank the Humanities Department for having the foresight to plan a forum such as this. And by extension, we'd like to thank the administration, Mrs. Emily Lawrence Ricketts and her team for facilitating this. To our panelists, you have engaged us in thought-provoking conversation, clearing up queries that we may have had, and tickling our minds with more that we can go home and ponder on. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. And to our audience here today, thank you. Your presence has helped to make this forum worth it. We do hope that you have learned something, you have gleaned something from this forum, and that you are able to go home with some form of new information and the zeal to find out more about our culture. I will leave you with some quotes, all from great persons of African descent. First, Frederick Douglass. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Then, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The time is always right to do what is right. Then we go to Michael Jordan, who is a very famous basketball player. He says, I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something, but I can't accept not trying. And lastly, I'm going to leave you with the words of Barack Obama, the first Black president of the United States. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We do hope that you have a good rest of evening. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The pleasure is mine to welcome you to the Godfrey Stewart Black History Month Debate 2022. It promises to be a stilled, thrilling, and exciting ding-dong battle between the bold males and the unperturbed females of our noble institution. The mood for today's match is, be it resolved that Black History Month has lost its effectiveness and value over the years. Proposing this afternoon are our assertive males, Mr. Garfield Prendergast, Shakib Brown, Dejon Brown, and on reserve, Dimitri Williams. Opposing are our domineering females, Star Barnes, Kayla Moodle, Daniel Sinclair, and on reserve, Deanna Blair. Let me take this opportunity to welcome our esteemed judges, Mr. Errol Jordan Stewart, science teacher at this institution, Mr. Dewani James, second-year student at the Micro University, majoring in geography and environmental studies, and our chief judge, Miss Adeline Smith, Justice of the Peace, retired principal and past teacher of this noble institution. Are you ready for the chatty, eloquent, and motor-mouthed presenters? They are ready. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our presenters this afternoon. Put your hands together for our first speaker, the eloquent Mr. Garfield Prendergast.
Good afternoon, Chairman, honorable adjudicators, members of the opposing team, and audience. We, the proposing team, the proposition of the mood which states Black History Month has lost its effectiveness and values over the years. In order for us to adequately justify our points, we, the proposition, would like to define some key terms for our esteemed audience and learned opposition. The Webster Dictionary defined lost as being taken away or beyond reach, or attainment. This said dictionary has also defined effectiveness as producing and desired, decisive, or desired effect and value as a result of worth, utility, or importance. Now that I have defined the key terms, we can restate the mood to say that be resolved that Black History Month desired effect has been taken away and has not produced much relevance and worth over the years. A short history of Black History Month. Black History Month is an annual observation in the United States from observing in the United States from 1915. By Charles Wilson and Jesse Moreland, who founded the Association of the Study of Black Negro Life and History, ASNLH. A century after the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery in the United States, the ASNLH was organized to promote the achievements by Black Americans and other people of African descent. In 1926, the ASNLH decided to sponsor a National Negro History Week, and the second week of February was chosen. This event inspired communities, schools nationwide to organize local celebrations. In the late 1960s, due to the civil rights movement and the growing awareness of black identity, Negro History Week evolved into Black History Month. In most schools, history and civics are not being taught because it is not seen as relevant or interesting. An example of this is in most traditional high schools. Students can't relate to current issues and are totally lost in our history. In addition, a few of our current artists are promoting our culture through music. It can be said that socialization plays an important role in that our grandparents were more passionate in who they were and do their best to tell their children and grandchildren about culture. The same cannot be said about our parents, who in some cases are children themselves and have no foundation for who they are and what are our beliefs as a nation. I believe that as a nation, we need to know our roots, and effective parenting determine how we respond to society. Our Dean of Discipline, Miss Barbara Dandy, emphasized this in an article dated on February 2nd, 2022, in which I quote, "Poor parenting has been a major contribution to the levels of disorder and criminality in the parish." End of quote. This is an indication that because of a lack of focus and purpose, individuals have turned their attitudes to other action than learning about history. I strongly believe that as a nation, if we need more purpose-driven, then we will become a better people. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case.
Opposing Mr. Prendergast will be the forceful Star Barnes with her 8 minutes. Please welcome Star.
I sat and listened intensely, and I heard the opposer said that Black History Month is lost or taken beyond reach. My opponents, you therefore said that history and civics does not teach us Black history. You are certainly wrong. Rosa Parks once said, and I quote, "I have learnt over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear." Pleasant afternoon, everyone, and welcome. As the first speaker, I stand here to proclaim with confidence opposing the moot. Be it resolved, Black History Month has lost its effectiveness and values over the years. Let me borrow your ears for a few minutes as I unveil the facts that will convince you that our cultural heritage has not lost its value. Why is Black History Month important? It began as a way of remembering people and the events in the African diaspora. It is celebrated in February in the United States and Canada, while in Ireland and the UK, it is observed in October. Why do we still have Black History Month? Black History Month was originated in the United States, and it is also known as African Americans History Month. We now have numerous ways to learn about our cultures, such as the internet, libraries, and many more. They provide us with the necessary information to know our roots, sources, and examples of the use of persuasive devices. Our education system, Mr. Chairman, now teaches Caribbean history and social studies to the tertiary level. In this way, they ensure that young minds get to know about their history. Talk with me. I am sure that you have been taught Caribbean history, sociology, and social studies before in your life. My opponents, are you aware of the content that comes in the history and social studies curriculum? If you are aware, then you will agree with us that it adequately focuses on aspects of our Black history. These are channels through which we have access to our Black history. Judges, mass media is another route through which there is proof that our history is still effective. Mass media broadcasts Black history information that does reach a wide scope of audiences. For example, programs on the Jamaica Information Service. A most notable program on JIS is Jamaica Magazine, which is also aired on TVJ. An educational program filled with the insights about Jamaica's history, as well as info about Black History Month. Newspapers such as The Gleaner, The Star, and The Jamaica Observer. News stations such as JSN, PBCJ, CVM, and TVJ. My opponents, I know your point of focus is that Black History Month is celebrated only in February. So it would not be enough in your point of view to spread the story of our history. To highlight the relevance of this month, my fellow opponents, there has been a wealth of information circulated which is truly supporting the movement. And so, the government of Jamaica, various ministries, along with school systems, have incorporated a curriculum surrounding Black History Month. We find where various organizations are speaking and putting out information in this month on platforms on the internet. Therefore, information highlighted in this month will be accessible for the rest of the year for persons to be educated. So I can say to you that in terms of the government, in terms of entries, especially schools and organizations, Black history is now being embraced. If Google is accurate, then this definition of effectiveness is the degree to which something is successful in producing the desired result. So, in my own words, effectiveness is advertising History Month, Black History Month. So I can say to you, it has not lost its effectiveness in passing on the message that it was intended for African descent in the world. My opponents, judges, Mr. Chairman, I thank you.
We have heard from our first speakers. A good start. Put your hands together for the first speakers. Thank you. To build on the proposition is our second speaker, the persuasive Shakeev Brown.
From what I attained from the first speaker, which is Star Barnes here, is that she is proclaiming that Black history is not only mentioned during Black History Month, which is February. It is also mentioned during August on Emancipation Day and Independence Day. But what I have to oppose that is mostly on Independence Day and Emancipation Day, no one ever actually realizes what we're actually supposed to do or what we mainly do on those days. On Emancipation Day, normally everyone would be outside. Either on their phones or going to various places such as KFC, which is a food restaurant that is very popular, including Burger King. And no one actually stays home and cooks meals that includes ackee, saltfish, and those types of meals that we normally create. To my esteemed opposers, judges, and well-wishers, as outlined by my first speaker, Black History Month has not only lost its effectiveness and blinded the sight of our cultural future, but it will greatly impact generations to come. Our first national hero, Marcus Garvey, emphasizes with a quote that reminds us, "A people with little to no knowledge of their past is like a tree without roots." And let me emphasize that a tree without roots has no capability of bearing fruit. Only 1 month, 28 days, and to say the least, They have chosen this month to commemorate Frederick Douglass's birthday on February 14th and celebrate Black history. But they could not just let people of African descent celebrate and enjoy the month-long celebration. They had to include Abraham Lincoln, which was the first president of America, into the celebration as well, putting us all off balance from the 1800s. We had to be fighting for a month just to celebrate our heritage, to the point that in the 2000s, we had no more fight left in us. And if you should check the stats, I can guarantee lots of people in this day and age don't even know the origin of Black History Month. Black history is mentioned multiple times during subjects such as history, social studies, etc. Even still, while being mentioned at that rate, it is never the focus during learning. Again, we stray from the root. I am a firm believer that Garveyism should be an area of study in the Jamaican school system. For far too long, the school system has failed the youths, and it is not the cause of the inadequacy of the teachers' teaching capabilities, but rather it is the curriculum guidelines that was prescribed by the Ministry of Education. In addition to that, the way we are socialized and the style of parenting, this generation is really not interested in things to do with culture. Why? Parents of today still indeed require parenting themselves. Hence, the breakdown starts at home. The cultural shift is a direct impact of the socio-economic status of many Jamaicans. They have no time to think of upholding culture when they have to be fending for the next meal or meet the next due bill. My fellow opponent, if you are not well and experiencing symptoms of the flu, you would go to the doctor, am I right? You would expect them to treat you for the flu. However, due to the blindness of our leaders, and this includes persons in government right down to the very regular community members, the legacy of our culture is enriching the cemeteries and urns. We have no cultural ambassador to represent in that aspect. Do you still not see that we have lost touch of where we are from? Our culture is our asset, and if not maintained and enhanced, will lose its value with time. The school system is mainly being focused on passing the exams written by some unknown writers, most times Americans or Europeans, but it failed the students in teaching them where they are from. And to be realistic, most of these writers are die-hearted on their beliefs and systems. I believe that more creative ways can be implemented to help us shift towards our past without standing in the way of our future, and what we, the people of African descent, share. Modern technology is very useful, and I am not taking away from its effectiveness of improved communication and improved information gathering, but I believe that uncontrolled use for an extended period has rid our minds of the need for even becoming one with nature and playing outside, let alone wanting to know our great-grandparents and how our great-grandparents and their parents once lived. The term, and I quote, "a modern time now," end quote, is one that keeps embedding itself in us and starts growing, and by now I believe is a very mature tree. With age and time comes responsibility, and we sometimes have to take up the mantle for the sake of our generation, to start investing in culturally educating ourselves. I will admit that these devices can become very addicting. When scrolling through the various social media platforms, for which most of what we find interesting have little to no value. Thank you.
Are you persuaded? I wonder if the oppositions have been converted. Our second opposition speaker, the passionate Kayla Moodle, will let us know. Put your hands together and welcome Kayla.
My opponents, you are really trying But I know that our audience have already made their decision in support of the opposition. You therefore say that Black history blinded the sight of the future to come. You are definitely wrong. The words of Marcus Mosiah Garvey states, we see a new Ethiopia, a new Africa, stretching her hands of influence throughout the world, teaching men the way of life and peace. Chairperson, honorable judges, my teammate, and my fellow colleagues, an airy afternoon to you all. I stand resolute in supporting my colleagues that Black History Month has not lost its effectiveness and values through the years. Judges, my focus will be on the entertainment sector and attraction in Jamaica, especially the pioneers and influencers. We celebrate the contribution of those who directly impact and indirectly impact the country in a significant way, breaking many political and cultural borders in the process. Bob Marley motivates us with his music. Black race celebrate it through his songs. Social issues are experienced by Black people and it's highlighted through his lyrics. The genre of reggae music celebrated all around the world. Famous songs like One Love and Emancipate Yourself from Mental Slavery. The genres of music in Jamaica highlight Black History Month and the process from the slave trade to a democratic country. These genres, specifically reggae and dancehall, highlight the path that Jamaicans trod. Whenever I listen to the great reggae artists who sing songs about our history, I learn a lot, and it helps me as an individual to pay keen attention to my history, which is the African descent history. That's effectiveness. Then we have the one of a kind, one and only Louise Bennett Coverley, who was a poet, writer, folklorist, actress, and educator. Miss Lou wrote poems for entertainment. Poems like No Little Twang, Dirty Tough, and Joyful Boy. These poems strongly bring out our culture. We have learned so much from her writing, from as early as infant school up to the tertiary level. The Three Mothers by Anna Malika says, behind every great man, there is a great history. Through Black history, we have attractions like the National Museum of African American History and Culture. According to Wikipedia, which is a Smithsonian Institution museum, the museum was established in December 2003 and it's opened home in September 2016. Next, we have the National Museum of African American Music, a museum in Nashville, Tennessee. The museum showcases the musical genres inspired, created, and influenced by African American. Other attractions that are done by persons in the honor of Black History Month, like oral storytelling, which is telling stories through voices and gestures. Opponents, would you therefore say that Black history has lost its effectiveness? Certainly not. Remember the times when our grandparents would sit us down and tell us Duppy stories and Nancy stories and Puss and Dog stories? Oh, I remember those days when our ancestors would tell us about our Black brother and sister and our rich culture. And I would sit and pay keen attention. Isn't that exposing us to our rich culture and cementing our values? Toni Morrison, in her book, Between the World and Me, vividly says, with the power of their words, Black writers have changed the world, battling most pressing social justice issues of their time while also arresting stories about how Black people live and love. So you see, Black History Month has not lost its effectiveness and values. I thank you.
Has Black History Month lost its effectiveness? Our final speaker on the proposing team, Mr. the powerful Dejon Brown, will come and let us know. And welcome Dejon Brown.
proposition. I know you have said Black history hasn't lost its effectiveness, but it has. You say, all right, no young people rather listen to traditional music. We rather listen dancehall, where we will have more vibes and fun. Good afternoon, chairperson, honorable judges, and my fellow competitors. The responsibility as the third speaker is to give the stance of the proposition has taken. I will be giving you an analysis of the status quo. My first speaker showed you how the school system does not place teaching Black history as a priority. My second speaker has shown you how the young generation is not accepting of when it happens. I will be speaking on 3 main points. 1, young people don't celebrate Black history events as they should. 2, young people don't dress as if they are aware or appreciative of Black History Month. Number 3, people don't know Black History Month. To further elaborate my 3 points, firstly, young people rather celebrate Halloween, Thanksgiving, the 4th of July, Christmas, and New Year's Eve than Emancipation Day, Independence Day, Martin Luther King Day, etc. Secondly, young people would rather wear jeans, T-shirts, Jordans, Air Forces, and American brand, which are all American brands, instead of wearing bandanas, African clothing, and indigenous clothes. Lastly, people don't take Black history seriously. We are very ignorant when it comes to Black history. Most times, we only know the very basics of Black history. I bet no one knows the middle name of Frederick Douglass. Just to educate you, judges, it is Washington Bailey. Or the plantation Sam Sharp was from, or the fact Marcus Garvey message was rejected, which led to him to let go overseas. We don't know that the Haitian sacrifice for if they fought for their freedom.
We know without a shadow of a doubt the stance of the proposing team. Let's hear from the final speaker of the opposing team, Miss Danielle Sinclair. Put your hands together and help me welcome our final speaker.
My opponents, you almost convinced me. And I say almost. Nothing further to be said. Michelle Obama once said, history has shown us that courage can be contagious and hope can take on a life of its own. Chairperson, honorable judges, my fellow competitors, good afternoon. My task as third speaker is to prove to you without a shadow of a doubt that Black History Month has not lost its effectiveness and value. As such, let me continue from where my fellow teammate left off. The story of Black History Month dates back to 1926. This week was founded by Carter G. Woodson to celebrate the accomplishments of African Americans and also 2 very important men born in that month. Now, my opponents, you say that Black history has lost its effectiveness. Let me prove you wrong.
Our tourism sector is one of the main sources of income for Jamaicans. Because of our strong cultural heritage, people come from all over the world to see it. Jamaicans, in turn, use this to their advantage. Study has shown that Jamaica gets a 25% increase in tourist visitation in February. Jamaica Loop News says that Jamaica earns US $80 million a month through tourism. National Hero Park is a botanical garden in Kingston, Jamaica. It features numerous monuments and is the burial site of many Jamaican national heroes, prime ministers, and cultural leaders. This is a popular spot for tourists. Now remember that effectiveness means the degree to which something is successful in producing a desired result. Would you still deem this as not being effective? In addition to that, our Jamaican history is very strong. So how would you take that history and share it with someone else? Well, you get Jamaican-made items from various stores and stalls, which helps to remind us of our history and culture. And unlike the tall statues of our heroes, this can be shared with someone else. These items are mostly made by Rastafarians. And if you should come in contact with a Rastafarian, you will see how they dress, how they talk, and even how they wrap their hair is a constant reminder of our Black history. Remember that value means the regard to which something is held to deserve, the importance, the worth, or usefulness of something. In this case, if we have so many people and ways to remind us of our history, how has it lost its value? I rest my case.
We have heard from both sides. You have almost convinced them. I wonder if when you are rebutting, you'll have 2 minutes to rebut, and wonder if you can fully convert them, or will they drift further apart? We will hear now from our opposers. Since the males have been going first, we are giving the females the opportunity to come first. We'll now have the rebuttal from the opposing team. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the rebuttal person, Star Barnes.
Based on evidence, your argument is less of significance, as we personally believe that Black History Month still retains its effectiveness and values. Now we have strong evidence to prove you wrong. You said that young people do not listen to reggae music. You are so wrong. Music is relevant to expand our cultural heritage. History is relevant because we need to know our roots. Black history is showing our true character. Our forefathers fought for our rights throughout our lives. Some parents work for their child or children and not talk about history, but we have our grandparents who talk and show us our roots. My fellow colleagues tell you that Black history have numerous cultural sites. They also say that our history is strongly brought out through music and attraction. I thank you.
Are you wrong, my proposers? Let's hear if they believe that they are wrong with their rebuttal 2 minutes. Mr. Garfield Prendergast will come and share what his team believes. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for our final rebuttal from our proposing team.
Good afternoon. Again, first and foremost, you said that music, we listen to reggae music. Tell me one song that our reggae musicians have been played, not since our great Bob Marley, no Bob Marley song, no Nesta Marley, none of those songs, please. One song that our youth has been playing, reggae music. Come on.
I answer your question. They listen to Chronics, they listen to Coffee, which all speak about Jamaicans and our history. We listen to Freddie McGregor, Stone Love. We listen to so much I could name.
As I said, none of those old-time artists. You can ask any young person in the crowd to name one recent reggae song. No one would answer. You most likely hear of the new song that Marksman said, right? You know Marksman, man. Stop going like no. Well, stop going like no notice and no notice. And no man. So, you see, crowd is saying yes. Crowd is saying yes. So, you also state that tourism is a big part of our culture. Yes, it is. But most travelers or tourists really come here for our sights and wonders, our lovely beaches and our lovely rivers and rainforest. Right?
Point of correction. Nearly 1.5 million tourists go to either the Botanical National Park or to the other sites, because when I was researching, I specifically looked up how much tourists per month go to the Botanical Park, and there is a lot.
The spirited speakers have spoken, and the impartial judges are now deliberating to decide who were the better speakers. We will find out in just a moment. Who do you believe were the better speakers? Who do you believe was our most convincing speaker of the afternoon? We will find out if our answers will be reflected in the judge's decision. The judge's decision will be the final decision, however, even though we can all choose our own winners, and they are all winners this afternoon. Thank you very much for participating, ladies and gentlemen. You all did your best, I am sure, and you will do better in the future. May God continue to bless you all. Thank you.
I think this was a good evening. We listened very carefully to what the young persons were saying. We thought that there were some good speakers, and you had some good points. Good. Maybe with a little more time to develop your points, we would have done a little better. But we can see that there was some evidence of research, right? You had some amount of content, and your examples, you had some good examples, all right? But we thought that it is Black History Month. Which one are we, where are we focusing on? Is it the American Black history, or is it the Jamaican, Caribbean Black history that our focus was on? All right? The proposition used several arguments, or most of their arguments were using the American system. And I can't we have to appreciate that, because where did Black history begin? In America. So it was in order. The definition was clear. The definitions were good. We were able to understand the points that you wanted to make. And we believe that you supported your arguments. As we said, it could have been developed a little more, but I don't know how much time you had for this presentation. Our scores were not very far. I believe the third speaker for the opposition did pretty well in trying to summarize her team's arguments. I think the third speaker for the proposition, he could have done well, but he sat down before time. So you had some good arguments, and we want to commend you for the efforts that you made for this presentation. I know that you'll do better next time. We believe that the second speakers on both sides would be the best speaker for each team. So Kayla and Shakiv are voted best speakers, and overall, the best speaker is Kayla, and the winning team is the opposition. Miss, don't mash up the desk. Girl power, woman power. Good? We don't want to say this is a gender thing. 2 men were on the panel, and they agreed that the ladies had the more convincing arguments, and I like the presentations. I like the information that the ladies use, because they focus more on Jamaica. And we need more, right? We need to highlight our history more, because we do have Black history in Jamaica, and we need to start highlighting our people. I heard about Miss Lou. I heard about the heroes. I heard about our heritage. Good? The young men did well in their highlights, and we appreciate that. But I know the next time around, so we were convinced that Black History Month has not lost its effectiveness and its values. Congratulations to both teams. Well done, gentlemen. Ladies, congrats. You did well.
Well done, teams. Okay. On behalf of the Godfrey Stewart family, I want to thank you for sharing in our Black History Month 2022. We want to thank all the persons who made this part of the celebration possible. Thank you to our administrators, our judges. Thank you for coming. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You did a good job. Thank you also to our teachers, our parents, our students, and well-wishers. A big thank you. I hope that you were enlightened. May the blood of our ancestors continue to flow through our veins. God bless you all. All right, we invite captains of both teams just to come and give yourselves a bow or a nice smile, or, the elbow. Just come forward, captains. Just come forward, and no touching, no hugging. Just do what you should. All right, it's a touch, but Captain Kayla, team members, Star, Danielle, and Blair. We'll invite the members of the proposing team. come forward. A representative will come and collect on behalf of the runner-ups. Thank you. We'll invite our judges to come forward. We'll start with the chief, the lady, Lady Smith. Just a little. Mr. James. Just a little. Thank you. Mr. Stewart. Thank you. All right. Thank you all again for coming. Do have a pleasant afternoon.